Hello, this is Demon Sword, and welcome to the first Katana Learning the Metals video. Now, we're going to discuss what is this data and info that I'm always spewing out to you guys, flexible versus strong, weak, you know. How am I coming up with this info? Well, there are basic scientific methods, one of which is using the ultimate tensile strength. Now, what does this do? This is a machine that takes a piece of material and just puts so much stress on it that it breaks. Well, so we broke it. What am we getting from this demon sword? Actually, a lot of useful information. So if we go to this basic chart here, this is a material being stressed. Putting more and more and more stress on it. Nothing's really happening, right? The material is standing there. You're just hearing the machine make clicks. Nothing looks like Zen, but it's actually putting a lot of stress on the material. And then it starts to very slowly stretch. And as we progress down this curve, this curve right here is the flexible point. The material from this stress, if we let it go, it would snap back into place and look perfect. It would not be altered or distorted in any way. Past this point, we have hit the critical point. It's fatal flaw, where it will now, past this point, if we keep putting stress on it, it will not go back to this shape, to the same structure it had before. It will be altered forever. And for this point here, sorry, I'm still getting rid of a bad cold, but I feel better. I just have a bad cough. 4 is the point where it breaks. So if you guys have had cheap katanas and you've been slashing around, slash, 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 and you notice they bent, they chipped, they cracked, they broke in half, that's where this comes from. So we get a lot of good data. We get fracture point, proportional limit stress, yield strength, that's very important, ultimate tensile strength, and we also get flexibility, spring characteristics of the metal. And spring by making that point, as on this curve I stated, that where it will go back to the normal shape. Okay, so this is, this is high-end engineering. This is called material science. I am an engineer, and I actually had to do a lot of courses in this, so before I got my degree and got my jobs and such. And if any of you didn't know, I'm actually a robotics engineer. So let's go on. Grain structure. This is what T10 steel looks like basically from the factory. It's very good grain structure. It's very monostructured. Everything looks identical. Now, if we took a Tatara furnace material, Tatara forge, you don't know what this is where we take it, throw it in kind of this sarcophagus looking thing and set it on fire, and it just creates molten material. And by the end, you get this kind of chunk of molten metal. From that chunk, you crack off the little bits that are shiny. That's the Tatara steel. It's a very primitive way to create material that is the same as T10. We'll just call this T10. So this was way ahead of its time. I give the Japanese culture a lot. The traditions, the reason why they do it is a higher guarantee to producing steel. So all their traditional ways of doing this actually have a reason. I want that to be very clear. There is a reason they do the way they do it in Tatara Forge. It's primitive. It's a barbaric method to create T10. I'm sorry to coin it this way, but I have no other words to call it that. After doing that, they would get something very close to this, but there'd still be alterations that would be uneven and would make the material not as strong. Okay? So I'm not knocking the sword. The quality of Tatara steel is very well known, but it's equivalent to T10 modern steel, very closely. So why would you? So one of my things on Demon Sword, I want you guys to get a cheaper katana that's functional. Why would I tell you to go buy, a $50,000 katana when a $200 katana could do the same thing and if properly forged, right? Does that make sense, guys? So I don't want you getting ripped off. I don't want you to have to spend more money than you need. If you guys want a quality katana, that's what I'm here for. Ask me questions and I will help. Back to this. Machining. This is what you get from the basic factory. What do we do with this? So if we made a sword from this, that's what a lot of China katanas are, in effect, is they just take this, cut it in the shape of a katana, polish it, shape it, slap on some stuff, and call it a katana. That's not a katana. That's a mono steel sword that's very weak. And that's usually what you guys are paying below $100 for. FYI. Now if we take this, what is hot forging? We are sticking this in a big oven. I know, it sounds awesome. We're sticking a sword like shape. It looks actually kind of like a long brick. And then you stick it in the furnace, you pull it out, you hammer, you stick it in the furnace, pull it out. This is a differential heat treatment. Forging, folding it will create this. Now, there is a simple, easy way to find T10, and T10 reveals itself very easily versus, how high of a quality it was and the forging process. Standard folding is only 9 to 12 folds and then differentially heat treated. Now then we move on to cold forging, which this is the quenching. This is what you've seen in probably like movies like A Knight's Tale or something like that. You take the flaming hot sword and you stick it in a barrel of water. That creates this structure. Actually, a better structure is created when you stick it into oil. Oil is probably the hardest to do because cold oil set on fire, your hand is stuck in with the blade. Very dangerous and, kind of scary. You're in danger of injuring yourself. So I don't recommend people doing this themselves unless they really, really want to. Usually water is fine, but oil quenching, oil bonding with the material while it's doing this creates a very smooth finish, and it makes the blade a little more flexible and durable while keeping the strength. It's very nice. And then there's clay tempering. So usually you do clay tempering in this stage, like one type of clay on top and one type of clay on bottom to harden and soften the material even more. That creates an even further structure here. So instead of having this type of structure, it's even more like this at the top. So this would be more here to create a nice stronger, and this would be even higher density afterward with the oil quenching. Now, how do you find T10 steel? Well, we'll use Huawei Sword here because I like their Hamans, and they're actually very good sword manufacturers. Just contact them, email blast them if you want a katana that's custom. Very simple. So you see how this looks. From here, it looks like any other katana. So one of the reasons I like them is, and you can actually verify it, T10 folded steel right here, even says it. As we zoom in, see how it's kind of this ghosty effect coming off? That's one of the key factors that T10 steel is very well known to do after you've folded and forged it. And note the layering here. This layering is not like this, very spaced out like you would get for just basic folded steel. It's more like this. So that's a better forging process. So, very nice forging. It looks very well done. And as we scroll down here, see how it's kind of the smoky. Come on, it's not a solid line. It's very hard to create solid lines with T10 steel. It's a tool steel. It's used in our wrenches, hammers, chisels, screwdrivers, pliers. You can keep going on, and a lot of that is made in T10 steel. The overall quality of T10 steel is it's very flexible, it's very durable, depending on how you forge it. The way you processed and forged this material can yield a very good structure. So it's very simple to create this into a sword. Now, would T10 be very good for a starting sword? Yes. I mean, in effect, you're getting something the equivalent of a standard Tara sword if it's well done T10 forged. A lot of China katanas are not well done. Huawei, I've seen their blades. I've had a lot of subscribers start picking up on them and being very happy with them. So I highly recommend these guys. I mean, look at this. This stuff is really well done. And fit and finish is good. Okay, let's just go there. None of these guys pay me. I'm just, from my experience of dealing with their blades, looking at their blades, looking at some of the other ones that you would get, they're very nice. Yes, they can be expensive. Quality is not without cost. I'm sorry. There are cheaper katanas that are just as effective. So, as you progress as a swordsman, you may want to get, better and better and better swords. That's kind of how I've been going, is I just keep seeming to get better and better swords. It works for me. The next time we're going to go into spring steels. So, I hope this video has been very educational. I've hoped it's helped you guys learn a little more, and if this succeeds, I will keep doing these. So, give me your feedback, guys. I hope it helped. Demon Sword out. Bye, guys. Comment or not.